Well, good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch, and I'm here in the kitchen, but we're not cooking today. Today, we're going to make some homemade electrolyte mix and try to save some money because that stuff is really, really expensive. Now, there's a number of, in fact, there's a lot of videos and a lot of information on Google about how to do this, and a lot of them copy the formulas of the well-known stuff like Element. A lot of them have way different ratios and way different amounts of the three basic electrolytes, the sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And then you complicate the mix by having all these things come in different forms. Do I use magnesium citrate? Do I use malate? Oxide? Anyway, I've been taking electrolytes for a long time. I've kind of discovered what I like in an electrolyte, but I've never quite found exactly the right mix. And I think it's about time that I stopped taking the flavored stuff. Even though it does taste good, I don't need it. The electrolyte mix, the unflavored ones, they're a little salty, but you just put them in a big jug of water and sip on it throughout the day. And I've decided on a particular formula and particular ingredients, which I ordered from Amazon. And of course, the links will be available down in the description and on my website in the Stuff I Use Every Day page, if you think you might want to play chemist like me. Mix these things up, save yourself a little money. If you don't want to do it, I think you'll still find this video interesting and maybe educational about electrolytes. So I hope you enjoy it. Here's what we're doing. We are going to use potassium chloride for our potassium. And this particular bag is from Bulk Supplements, and it contains 5,000 servings according to their mix, but their mix is a little weak. But you get the picture that there's a lot of stuff in here. The magnesium I'm using, I like magnesium citrate. Same thing. Not as many servings because you need a lot more magnesium than you do potassium in these mixes, but big bag here. For salt, I'm just using the Himalayan pink salt, fine ground, because this contains a lot of minerals too. It's great salt. And we got us a big jar of the Himalayan pink salt. I've got a scale that measures in grams. Even though these drinks are made with milligrams, we're going to make a big batch up. So the accuracy of the scale down to milligrams won't matter as much if you're making, say, 100 or 200 servings at a time. And true to scientific goodness, I have calculated the different amounts of these three different electrolytes to make 100 servings for my use. And we're going to have 500 milligrams net of potassium. We're going to have 400 milligrams net of magnesium. And we're going to have 570 milligrams of sodium. The serving size when they're done, we're going to shoot for 6 grams per serving, because this entire batch of 100 will weigh 600 grams, a little more than half a kilo. And then we'll experiment with some different scoop sizes and tablespoon and teaspoon sizes to see if we can't really narrow this down to half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon, so that it's easy to scoop out every day. And you make these things in batches of 100 servings at a time, which should fit in one of my old Dr. Berg electrolyte jars, which is 100 servings. And maybe even the scoop that came with that will work. So let's get to work. Let's play chemist. I'll explain what I'm doing every step of the way, and wish me luck. Okay, here we go. We got our scale here, a digital scale, and we turn it on. And we're going to use these 3 bowls here to measure out our 3 different ingredients. And so I put this on the scale, and I press the tare, T-A-R-E button. And basically what that does is that resets the scale to 0, so I'm only weighing the contents of the bowl. And we'll start with the salt, and according to my little cheat sheet here, we need 150 grams of this salt. So, being as this is a brand new experiment, and I don't know physically how much it is, I think it'll all fit in that bowl, but we'll see. So, what we got here is a little glump of salt in there. So let's break that up first. That's not really bad, okay. And we're going to go for 150 grams. So let's set the scale to grams. There you go. And let's start pouring some salt in and see what we have. So that's not grams, evidently. That's ounces, grams. Okay. So I got 225 grams of salt here. So I, of course, have overdone it right off the bat. So let's start taking some salt out of here. And we want 150 grams of salt. 155. 145. 150. There we go. So there's our 150 grams of salt. Put that there. Put the salt behind it so I know what it is. Now, the next thing we want is reset the scale to 0. And just for fun, let's see. 155, close enough. All right, so reset that to 0. Let's open the magnesium citrate. And the magnesium citrate, according to the cheat sheet, we need 350 grams of this, which ought to be almost a bowl full, it looks like. I guess this is supposed to keep it dry. $150 grams. No, 350 grams. Well, there's 160. So obviously I need a bigger container for the magnesium. So this is the container that we're going to finally put it all in. So I may as well use that for the magnesium. And just checking to make sure that a serving size of this is 3.5 grams. which nets me 400 milligrams of actual magnesium per serving. So we need 100 of those. So that is 3.5 grams. So I calculated that correct. Put the tare thing down here. Take our bowl with the magnesium, which we don't need anymore, and put 350 grams of magnesium into this. 345. Close enough. Okay, 340. Let's put a tiny little bit more, although we're not talking about a big difference when you look at serving size. 350. So there's our magnesium. We got enough in this bag to do this probably another 3, maybe 4 times. Okay, I didn't mention before, but the total cost of all of this stuff was less than $50, which is enough to buy 100 servings of the Dr. Berg electrolyte and maybe 50 servings or close to 50 servings of the element electrolyte. So this is already looking like it's going to be 10 times cheaper, which is a good thing. So we'll set the tare. Now we want the potassium chloride and the serving. We need 100 grams of potassium chloride. And that will give me 500 milligrams of potassium in the final mix. So we want 60, 80, 90, 95, 100. Okay. So there we got 100 milligrams of so there. Now, those are our 3 ingredients. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour them together. And we're going to mix them up. Let's do this. The cursory mix. Clamp the lid on it. Mix them up real good. I don't know whether this would constitute a complete mix, but I would hazard a guess that you do this enough, you're going to have a good mix. So now what we've got here is 100 servings of electrolyte mix. How cool is that? Now, 1 serving out of these 100 should be 6 grams, which is going to be interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just for fun, I'm going to be more accurate, measure 5 servings, which would be 30 grams. So let's 0 to scale out, and let's see how much of this weighs 30 grams. 25. $35. 30. Okay. So what we have here is now 5 servings. 5 servings. And let's just experiment. This is a teaspoon. So let's see how many level teaspoons are in these 5 servings. So there's 1. I mean, this is a backwards way of doing it, but 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's 5. So a teaspoon of this is not quite enough. Not quite enough. So let's try it this way. Let's take a teaspoon. In fact, let's do this just for fun. Let's put this back on here. Let's see if we can see how much a teaspoon weighs. And I don't know if this scale is sensitive enough, and that's why I'm doing it in batches. I do know I have 5 servings here. That says 10, so it's just not accurate enough. But I know by measuring that 3, 4. I know that a teaspoon is pretty close, and I have this much left over. So maybe I know this might be strange, but maybe a heaping teaspoon, a little more than a full teaspoon, 2, 3, 4. I would say that a teaspoonful of this, a heaping teaspoon of our final mixture, is so close, and certainly not more than you need, because you might want to even do this twice a day. But a heaping teaspoon, measuring spoon, of this mix will give you about 100 servings from this batch that we made, which should weigh about 600 grams plus the weight of this little empty container here. 640, that's about right, because I think this probably weighs about 40 grams. So what I have here is 100 servings. You can dilute 1 serving in either 16 or 32, up to 32 ounces of water, depending on how salty that you like it. But this now is the equivalent of $50 to $75 worth of a store-bought electrolyte mix. Now, if you have to have flavored, sweetened electrolyte mix, you can add to this some flavoring like the other people use, some stevia like they use, and blend it up to taste. For me, the whole reason I'm doing this is to basically get rid of the sweetened electrolytes, save a lot of money, and make a mix that is exactly what I want. Because most of the mixes either have not enough potassium, too much of the other thing. And what I figured, for example, the Dr. Berg's has 1,000 milligrams of potassium, whereas the LMNT has 1/10 of that or less. So I have been taking 1,000 milligrams of potassium a day, which the consensus is that you need 2,500 to 6,000 a day. But I get a lot of potassium from my food. So 500 milligrams of 1 serving of this. If I end up having 2 servings of this a day, it's perfect. I'm having 800 milligrams of magnesium. I'm having 1,000 milligrams of potassium and plenty of salt. So this is it. This is it. And it's a good place to start. Down the road, I'll let you know how it is. And it's just something you might want to do. It will save a considerable amount of money and allow you to custom tailor, if you're so inclined, your electrolyte to be exactly what you want it to be. So let's try this and see how it tastes. So here I have a 44-ounce thermos jug, and we're going to take a teaspoon full of our electrolyte mix. Put that in there. And to it, we're going to add about 32 ounces of water. I'm going to fill this thing up. Not all the way to the top, but pretty good, because I want to dilute this. We'll see how salty it actually tastes. And this is kind of neat. I got this on Amazon. I guess I'll add it to my list of things that I use every day, because I certainly use this. And we'll shake it up. And this is really an outstanding jug, because it's got a number of different attachments, and one of them is this thing that you just flip up and it becomes a straw. So you close it and it's watertight. We'll shake it up real good. And we'll give this the taste test. All right, we make sure we've shaken this thing up real good. In here I got about 32 ounces or more, maybe 36 ounces, doesn't matter. I'll drink more than this much water in a day, and I'll just use this for my water. The only burning question is this going to be too salty without sweetener, without flavoring, that it'll be unpleasant to drink? So this is my first time tasting this stuff. So let's see. Barely a hint, almost imperceptible salty taste. Pretty much tastes like water, which is great. And I was hoping for that, because it's the first time I've tried this. So what my plan is, I'll just fill this up in the morning, and when I'm thirsty, I'll drink from it. If it takes most of the day, that's fine. You can put a couple ice cubes in it to keep it cold. But this jug will keep things cold all day anyway. So far this little project is a success. It's going to save quite a bit of money. And it's something that you might consider trying if you take electrolytes every day. So with that, I'll give you the rest of the day off and eat meat.